All right, what's up, John? This week we're gonna have a look at your videos from your training from 8 weeks out. Probably one of the way the highest training stress we had in a long time. So let's have a look and let's see what we can do to improve ourselves. So just gonna share my screen here so you can see what I'm talking about. And here we go. All right. Yep. Just sharing my screen. Give me a second. And yep. So we start off with some bench press. Your pauses are actually much better, right? So the first rep, the pause was good, but then your pauses got a little bit less consistent. So we see that the time you spend on your pauses were actually slightly less consistent, as we can see here, right here. So the first rep, good pause there. Second rep, good pause. But when we look at the fifth rep, it became like sort of like a little bit too fast. So if you look at the fifth rep, right here, yeah, the pause was a little bit too fast and you seem like you're jerking the weight back. You basically lost a little bit of tension right here and it was tough. So basically you did mention that bench wasn't feeling so good. It could probably be just to the fatigue buildup. So let's see how the other days go. Your squats seem to be doing better. You did mention that you have a slight ankle restriction and we decided to squat much later into the week. Let's see the depth on some squat. Yeah, it looks pretty okay. On some it looks just borderline. So I would advise going slightly lower just to avoid being called or being red lighted. So remember that when we actually squat, we don't want to go too low. We don't want to go too high as well. But right now where you are, it's just borderline. So I think just maybe half an inch lower would actually do some good just to put ourselves at ease when we squat, just to ensure that we don't get red lighted. Your deadlifts looks good. It seems like you're taking the slack out of the bar before initiating the pull. All we have to emphasize is just the lockout. At this point, your shoulder blades isn't fully pulled back yet. So if you see at this point, your shoulder blades isn't fully pulled back and then you begin to descend. So for your deadlifts this week, I really want you to focus on really locking out, pulling your shoulder blades back and pushing your hips into the bar. We not have a deadlift issue or not a lockout issue in a long time because we've been working hard and your deadlift really is moving. But I really want you to emphasize on the lockout for each rep. Make sure that the lockout is really locked. Make sure that your body is locked. Your shoulder by pulling your shoulder blades back and your hips forward. More squats here. Yep, the squat, the depth here looks a little better. So we see that you're actually hitting depth a little bit better here. Going slightly lower right there. And it seems like, just pause it. So the crease of hips is here, yep, depth is below your knee. So it seems like you're hitting that and you're maintaining position over midfoot. This is actually slightly more convincing, to me at least. So let's keep it up this way. And we kind of lost tightness on there. So let's watch. Yeah, that rep was slightly better, but if you look at this rep, you sort of lost tightness and we saw the bar going forward, but you managed to save it. But if you can try and maintain proper positioning, like this rep, the bar doesn't pitch as much forward as it does on the previous one. So it's a good job there, but let's try. Remember that as you go to the bottom of the hole, you have to make sure that is the position where you're the tightest and the strongest at, because if you lose tightness at the bottom of the hole, you find it very hard to come out from the hole. For this bench, from this angle, it's hard to see, but your butt look like it's off the bench. Yeah, your butt looks a little bit high. So if we look at it here, we can see that space, or like that light in between your butt and the bench. So what we want to do is we want to ensure that the butt is on the floor, on the bench, before you actually press the weight up. So you got to make sure that your butt is always on the bench. From this, it seems like your butt is on the bench, but because of your pants, I can't really tell. I would say that you did a good job here. Maybe bench is just fatigue. So as for your deadlift, if we look from the front, we see that you're locking your knees early, right? So we see that you're locking your knees here before pushing your hips in. So I want you to remember that because the lockout is a slight issue of yours, we want to push the hips into the bar a little bit quicker. We want to push your hips into the bar before you lock your knees, or it has to be simultaneously, but because you're doing it, locking your knees faster, once the bar breaks off the floor, I want you to imagine that you're pushing your hips right into the bar. So for the bench, right, we have to ensure that the pauses, right, the pauses have to be on point, right? If we don't get the pauses right, you will not be given the lift. Second would be, we have to ensure that the butt is always on the bench, right? You have to make sure that the butt doesn't come off the bench. So if you could actually wear slightly tighter pants, it will help me to see if your butt is off the bench or not. For your squat, I think you're doing a good job considering the fact that you're just recovering from some ankle injury. We have to ensure that we're hitting that. So maybe 0.5 centimeters. Sorry, I mean 0.5 or half an inch lower would actually be beneficial, just to put the judges at ease. And for the deadlift, let's focus on the strong lockout. Once the bar breaks off the floor, I want you to push your hips really, really strongly into the bar. So that's all for this week. It's a deload week coming up, so it shouldn't be too difficult to practice those cues. And I hope that you'll be able to improve your technique. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I hope you are kicking ass in training and in life. And I'll see you next week.